when we are afraid to make the wrong choice, not only is that bad for us, but it makes our kids afraid to make the wrong choice too. We are teaching our kids to be afraid.
Welcome to Blueprints, a podcast helping parents thrive in today's demanding world. Join Greg and Cody as they explore God's big plan for families and the big job of raising kids.
Welcome to Blueprints. This is our third episode where we're going to be looking at how do we parent in a hostile culture. And I'll kick this question over to you, Greg. Have you ever felt judged?
Period, yes.
Well, okay. Not by me, which is true, but just as a parent, like if you look back and like parenting decisions you make, have you ever had a moment where you just felt really judged?
Yeah. When our son was an infant, he needed to gain weight, and the breast milk wasn't doing all of that. We were encouraged to do formula.
Okay.
And especially in our area, where you buy formula and you're kind of looked like, huh? Mm-hmm. So you're feeding your kid formula, huh?
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing already.
Yeah.
And so I'm trying to keep this kid alive.
Yeah.
And you know what? He's 11 now, and he's doing great.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he survived off formula for a little bit, and he did all right. What about you, Cody? Have you felt judged?
Yeah, well, yes. And I would say mine was maybe a little more deserved. I remember a specific time I felt very judged by a person on a plane because I had led them to believe that they were right in thinking that my eldest son, who was very much so a baby at the time, was a girl. And I didn't correct them, and then they found out that it was true. So, okay.
It's because you didn't want to be in the conversation.
A little context. So we're on a plane, which is just not a fun experience for parents in general.
No.
With babies.
No.
But, we need to change his diaper. So he's maybe 8 months old, 9 months old. And let's face it, at that time, you can't tell. Like, nobody knows.
Yeah.
Like, they all look the same.
They're all bald.
They all look like little alien creatures that will eventually become something distinguishable. I'm waiting at the thing to change his diaper, and this other woman walks up and just said, "Oh my gosh, what a beautiful little girl you have." And
you're not looking to have a conversation.
I don't want to talk to this person.
Yeah.
I don't want to have a conversation.
I got to change this kid's diaper in an
airplane.
airplane.
So instead of saying what I should have said, which was, "Oh no, this is my son, and thank you so much,"
it's
which
a boy.
would have been really easy to say and fine, and there would have been no judgment. I just said, "Thank you so much. She really is lovely." But what I didn't realize is that whoever was in the lavatory was going to take 10 minutes. So I'm there by the time I'm done, and I do this oftentimes when I don't want to be in a conversation with a stranger, and then it takes much longer than I thought, where let's just say it snowballs. And by the end, I'm talking about all the hopes and dreams I have for my little daughter and all these things, and her little girl and all this stuff.
Oh, man.
And finally I change her diaper. I am like, okay, I can go back to my seat. I don't have to deal with this anymore. And go back to my seat. And of course she walks right up, sits right behind me.
Yes.
And says to my wife, "Oh my gosh, your daughter is so beautiful." And she, not knowing the 15-minute conversation I had with her, is like, "Oh no, that's my son." And let's
ratted you out.
Let's just say the look of judgment that I felt from her was so fierce and so deep. But I will say that's different from the judgment we're talking about today.
Yeah. So how do we transition
to
the question?
So with that, why don't we go to our listener's question?
Hi, this is Megan from Texas. My oldest is about to start school, and I'm really torn about where to send him and what to do. When I try to reach out to friends or do research, the environment just seems really hostile. It seems like I can't make the right choice. Why do I feel so much shame when I'm trying to make the best decision for my child?
Megan, thank you so much for asking that question. It is a legitimate question. Having an 11-year-old who's going into junior high, I've been asked that question so many times. Where are you sending your kids to school? And it is is there a wrong place, and why do you care?
Yeah.
But so to start answering that question, Cody, can you introduce us to what the big idea of this episode is?
Yeah, the big idea of this episode is really that grace can set us free from the shame-inducing hostility of our culture.
Yeah.
So if we're wondering, how do I get rid of this? Why do I feel this way? All of these things, we need to remember that grace can set parents free from the shame-inducing hostility of culture. And really, point one that I would say in response to your question, Megan, is that first off, it's not just you. We are, I think, living in a meaner culture. Like what you're feeling is real. And I want to validate that this basic decision making that we feel as parents and the hostility and the judgment and the shame that induces is real.
Yeah.
And I think it's unique.
Yeah. And it's more prominent in our culture, I believe, because there's so many ways to voice our opinions, and it's gotten to where everybody's an expert.
Right.
And we've gotten away from being a listening and learning culture to I know everything culture,
right.
And you need to know what I know.
Right. Yeah. I mean, on the one hand, I want to say this: shame-inducing hostility is nothing new. Like, look at the Pharisees. This is the way it's worked for a while.
Right.
I think what's different is that our communication channels and our way to virtue signal, the way that we can kind of cancel people publicly, the way that we can utilize things like social media, the internet, and other platforms like that to do that is so much more prevalent, so much more amplified. And in so doing that, not only is that amplified, but because there is this digital barrier between what we say and the people that we're saying it to, we are just actually getting meaner.
Yeah, and we're not, like I said, we're not listening. We're not engaging in conversation. We're not trying to hear fluctuations of voice or heart behind anything. And what it's done for a lot of parents, it's created a lot of fear and insecurity of, can I say this? Can I voice how I'm having an issue or trouble in parenting, or will I just be automatically judged? Like with that, where you sending your kid to school? Oh, you're sending them there?
Yeah.
It's like, okay. Yeah. It's
totally.
Maybe I shouldn't have even said anything if that's the response I'm going to get.
Exactly. Yeah. And, I think a lot of that deep down is probably driven by fear, insecurity.
Yeah.
I think it's a false bravado oftentimes when we virtue signal and when we put things out there into the world that, like, I'm right, and if you're doing it a different way, you're wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, and this starts at a very young age. And I think both moms and dads feel this. I think I have watched and particularly seen the mom culture.
Oh, yeah.
Of judgment and hostility be very real, very intense, and really detrimental.
Yeah.
And I think dads feel it too in different ways, and it's just there.
Totally.
And so first off, it's not just you. We are in fact living in, I think, what is a meaner
and there's
culture.
There's articles and studies.
Yeah, David Brooks has written a number
of
articles on this. I've seen this over and over again, that particularly because of the way the internet works, the digital world works, we have amplified an already bad thing.
Yeah. There's already sin in the world.
Yeah, and now it's easier to do.
Yeah, no,
basically.
Let's make our sin just out in public.
And I think what's hard with that, and this leads us to point two, is that when we are afraid to make the wrong choice, not only is that bad for us, but it makes our kids afraid to make the wrong choice too. We are teaching our kids to be afraid.
Wow, that's
like kids can tell, and kids can tell when we're afraid.
Kids can
feel that.
Kids sense, not only sense, but like you're saying, they see us as parents. I remember there was a moment last week where I was tense, and my son, he's so good at seeing people for where they're at. Like, the dude just came up and gave me a hug.
Yeah,
and my heart felt so much love in that moment. And because it was also a realization for me of, oh, I'm putting this out there because this is how I'm feeling right now. And now my kid's hugging me, and because he's caring and loving for me. But you're right. Like, to that point is, our kids sense it, our kids see it. And sometimes they take on that fear or anxiety.
Oh, totally. Yeah. I mean, if you think about it, when we are in a culture that is hostile about every decision.
Right.
Every decision is this penultimate decision, and if you make the wrong decision, everything's going to fall apart.
Yeah.
Not only does that produce shame, but that produces stress. It means that every decision that we make has to be the most important decision we make. And we are not wired for that. We are not made to live like that.
When I was a youth pastor, I used to experience this when kids would graduate. The whole, what is next with your life? What are you going to do next? It's such a fear-inducing thing for them because we put so much weight on an 18-year-old making a decision about where they'll go to school or what they'll do next, and they feel like there's a wrong choice.
Yeah,
it's like you're going to college, like you're getting an education.
Yeah,
you're gonna be fine.
Yeah.
So it's like, how do we create environments like that where one mistake won't define a whole life?
Yeah. I mean, if we think about it, most decisions are not life and death.
No.
Most decisions we make as parents,
yeah.
even like some of the bigger ones, like where we send our kids to school, like how we, what church we go to, what all this stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying they're not important. I'm not saying we shouldn't think about them.
But they're not life or death.
But they're not life or death.
Yeah.
And what's hard is that when every decision has been made to be life or death, then we feel it differently. But there's very few that really should even be given the weight and gravity that most decisions are given. And what I think is freeing, and what I think we can start to see with our kids, is if our kids see the confidence in our decision making, if we make a decision confidently, it's even okay if we're wrong. Even if we play out and be like, you know what, maybe that wasn't the best decision. It's also probably okay.
Yeah. When I was pastoring, I would tell my staff they would have the freedom to fail.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, because we're going to come up with some ideas that, man, we think are just God-given, and this is going to be awesome. And you know what? They just turn out to be terrible.
Oh, yeah.
And instead of wanting our team to sit and like, oh no, is the boss going to be mad? I want to, we learned what not to do. And I want my kid to have that.
Yep.
Like, you're going to make a decision, and maybe it wasn't the best one. So how do we learn from it? How do we grow from it? Instead of the fear and shame environment.
And this is point 3. God's grace has set us free so that we can parent with confidence.
Yeah, that's great.
I think what I love about the clarity that comes with God's grace and the way he gives us the freedom to make decisions with things, to kind of make diverse decisions, even to make the wrong decisions, to even fail and stuff like that, is that because of his grace, none of these are identity issues. None of these are, life and death type things. So we can parent with confidence, not because we're always right, not because we're always making the right decision, but because even if we make the wrong decision, we don't have to be afraid of that.
Yeah. And God is calling us to parent out of wisdom and delight, and not out of fear and shame. And
totally.
And what I want us to glean from that is, it is such a joy to be our kids' parents. And my hope is that all the parents listening to this feel that. Yeah. And that we would experience just great joy in all things with our kids. And so that they could experience joy in all things with God, and just growing in him and who God has created them to be. And so it's going to be harder for them to do that if we have this fear and shame environment surrounding our homes, but instead of setting them free. And so I think just how do we set our kids free in that environment? Is something like I'm thinking through.
Yeah, I mean, like, we can't change the environment. Like, it's still going to be hostile. People are still.
And you're meaning environment, like the world.
Yeah,
we
world.
We can change our homes.
Yeah, we can change our home, but we can't change all that stuff.
Yeah.
And so, like, I think if we're parenting out of wisdom and delight, like, that's how I think we should make decisions. Wisdom is we make the best decision we can, given what we know at the time. That we make the decision. And there's literally nothing else we can do. Like, we might learn something later that would have maybe changed our decision, but we didn't know that at the time. So we did, like, there's nothing we can do about that. So don't worry about it. Don't fret about it. Don't regret it, all that stuff. And, for some people, they really care about certain education things. Do it. Great. Delight in that. Some people might value different things. Like, a bus will pick my kids up and take them there for free.
Right.
That might be a big enough reason to make a decision.
You better be there when the bus drops
Yeah,
people
oh my
off,
gosh.
or she'll let you hear about it.
Yes. I've maybe been late one time for my daughter, and she was not happy about that. All that said, what we don't want to do, and what we constantly need to gut check our heart on, is we do not want to make decisions out of fear and shame.
Yeah.
That should never motivate our choices. Because ultimately, not only, even if we make the right choice, if we make the right choice for the wrong motivations, it's ultimately going to undermine whatever good could come from that.
Yeah.
And it's going to teach our kids that this is how we make decisions. We make decisions because we're afraid, because we feel ashamed. Haters are going to hate.
Haters going to hate.
Like as the great theologian Taylor Swift.
Haters are going to hate.
Haters
man.
are going to hate. Like, we can't change that. Like,
No.
they're gonna say what they're gonna say. They're gonna do what they're gonna do. But we don't have to play that game. We don't have to buy into it.
We don't have to respond.
Yeah, we don't have to give them the weight.
Yeah.
The decision. Because ultimately, grace sets parents free from the shame-inducing hostility of our culture. Just because we're living in a meaner culture, just because that can make us afraid to make the wrong choice, doesn't mean that we have to abide by it.
Yeah, and something we all need to remember, and we'll say this probably a few times in podcasts to come, is God made you to be your kid's parent. And so you're going to be the best parent for your kid. And so, and I say that in the heart of help your kid. Don't rely on other people, I guess. And don't worry if someone is going to hate on where you put your kid to school. That's your decision. You're in your kid's decision. Be confident in that.
Hey, this is Joe from Guatemala. Next time on Blueprints.
So I'm like, yeah, he's a great dog. And then he starts talking to me more. And by the end, I'm like, yeah, we bought this home. You know, a few years ago, he's got another dog. So many fiction. It's great fiction practice.
Yes.
Fiction writing practice.
Blueprints is a production of Grace-Based Families, a nonprofit that equips ordinary parents to raise extraordinary kids. Grace-Based Families makes free resources for parents, thanks to the generosity of listeners like me. To join in the work of transforming generations of families, go to gracebasedfamilies.com/join.
Blueprints es una producción de GBF, una organización sin fines de lucro que equipa a padres comunes para criar a niños extraordinarios. GBF crea recursos gratuitos para padres gracias a la generosidad de oyentes como yo. Para unirte al trabajo de transformar generaciones de familias, visita a gracebasedfamilies.com/join.